Hello there, everybody. This is Gabriel O'Sullivan. This is our episode 2 of Lost Boys to Found Fathers podcast, where Will and I are sharing our experience and what we have dealt with infant loss, hoping that we can be an encouragement to guys out there who have dealt with the same thing. What we found when we lost our kids was that there was a lot of information maybe out there on the internet or in books that was really good and helpful for moms, but there wasn't a lot of things out there directed at men for how they deal with the grief of loss and how they cope with those challenges. And we thought that we needed to have some information out there, and so we started this podcast, Lost Boys to Found Fathers, to help guys cope who have lost kids, and also to hopefully offer some encouragement and some strength and some hope for those guys as well through the experiences that we've had. So we've had one episode. This is our second one. These next couple, we're going to be sharing our stories, kind of what happened with our kids, so that way you got some background about where we're coming from, and then we'll get into some more topics obviously in the future. I'm going to let Will kind of introduce that in just a minute. And if you'd like some more information, certainly Will's doing a great job keeping up with our social media. You can look on Lost Boys to Found Fathers on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And also, I wrote a book about our experience and some lessons that we learned. It's called Thy Will Be Done. You can look for that on Amazon. Thy Will Be Done. Put a question mark at the end of that. It'll come up easier. My name's Gabriel O'Sullivan. And you can also go to thywillbedonebook.com for an opportunity to find that. So without further ado, we'll bring in Will.
Hey guys, it's Will Heacox. As Gabe said, we want to get into the stories of our children and really why we're here. Our first episode, we gave you the why, and we kind of briefly touched on what happened with our kids. But we want to get into that and give you some context as to where we're coming from. And sorry we're a little late on this. I think we intended to get this second episode out early January, but my wife and I had a daughter born 12/30/20, and she's doing great. We're excited about having her and everything that comes with that, but did have a little bit of a rocky start to getting her to the world, and we'll probably go over that on the episode after we talk about the stories of our losses. But just wanted to let you know that's why we've been delayed a little bit, and that we're just excited about having her here, and we're excited about including her and everything we've been through with her into the story of this podcast and where we're going from here. So just to kind of get right into it, my wife, her name's Hannah, and we wanted to get pregnant 3 years ago, something like that. We went through, trying all that stuff, and it didn't really take. We had some issues getting pregnant. We went through all the natural stuff, went to some doctors, endocrinologists, and we probably after a year and a half or so of trying everything we could think of, we were finally able to get pregnant, and that was an answer to prayer. We had some concerns at certain points that maybe that wouldn't happen, but thankfully the Lord blessed us. We were able to get pregnant. We found out, I guess 20 weeks, something like that, it was a little boy, and we were just over the moon. We were as excited as we could be, ready for him to be here. It was a crazy feeling. Both of us always wanted to be parents, and to have that realization that we are parents now. There's a child inside Hannah growing, and he'll be here soon. We were just so excited about that, and so thankful, and just couldn't wait to have him here. And Hannah had a pretty uneventful pregnancy. Everything was great. I think she would tell you that for the most part her pregnancy symptoms were pretty mild. She was blessed with not too much morning sickness and things like that. It was pretty great. And we had, as we did with our daughter that was just born, we were going through midwifery service, and we were planning to do a home birth, and just have the natural experience there. Hannah's amazing. She chose that, and I support that fully, and I thought it was pretty great. So we went through the pregnancy, had several different checkups. Everything was great. Had ultrasound, all that, and I think it was around like September 27th. I may be wrong on the date. Something like 26th, 27th. We Hannah had some concerns that she hadn't felt him move in a while, and so I think we were in bed at that point. I was asleep. I didn't even know this was happening. She laid up, concerned, and she tried all the things that you see. You drink fruit juice, you do jumping jacks, you lay your stomach on cold floor and try to wake the baby up. And I think after about an hour and a half, 2 hours, she felt like he had moved. She convinced herself that he had moved, and she still was concerned, but she went to bed and got some rest. And next day was a Saturday. We got up, we did normal Saturday things. I cut the grass, all of that. Probably about 8 o'clock that night, she came to me, and she was just super concerned, and she was crying and came in and just told me she hadn't felt him move all day pretty much, and she didn't feel him move much the day before, and she just knew something was wrong and didn't know what to do about it. So we called our midwife, had her come over. Thankfully, she was 10 minutes away, and she came over and she went to checking for a heartbeat with her Doppler machine, and we didn't hear anything. And I guess we were kind of in shock. We didn't really know what that meant. We knew it probably wasn't good, but she'd had some issues in the past finding his heartbeat just quickly because positioning or whatever else was going on. And so she didn't freak out. She just said, we need to go to the hospital, just get things checked out. And we're blessed to live 10-15 minutes from a hospital, so we jumped in the car, headed that way. And Hannah and I still were probably in shock, didn't really know. Like, we were obviously concerned. We were like, this can't be good. But we're praying the whole way there, and just, Lord, watch over us. We're concerned. We don't know what's going on. Please make Gabriel okay. Our son's name was Gabriel, if I didn't say that. But make Gabriel okay. Whatever this is, help it to be something the doctors can fix. All of that. We got to the hospital. They rushed us straight in, labor and delivery. We got into I guess just the normal delivery room. I don't know if it was an ER room or whatever, but probably after just a couple of minutes, a doctor came in, and he got an ultrasound prepared. He looked at Hannah. He took 10-15 seconds, and he was an older guy, so maybe his bedside manner wasn't as good as it could have been, but the way we remember it is that he just kind of turned to us and said, "I'm sorry, there's no aortic activity." And we just kind of looked at each other and looked at him, and our midwife was there. This was before COVID. So we kind of just looked at each other and we're like, what? We know what that means, but what does that mean? And he said, "I'm sorry, his heart isn't beating. He's not with us." And we were just kind of like, that can't be true. Like, you got to be wrong. You got to check again, make sure you're right. And he said, "I'm sorry," and turned and left the room. And I guess a nurse was in there, and she came over to us and just said, "I'm so sorry." And we kind of, I don't even really know that we processed immediately what was going on. Hannah pretty much immediately just burst into tears and sobbing and wailing, and I was crying, but I guess I was still in shock of, like, going from, I was laying down watching football when Hannah came up to me and told me she thought something was wrong. And so I was, ignorance is bliss, and our child is going to be here soon. I think it was 2 days before his due date when we did all this that Saturday. And we just really were crushed in that moment to think our son, who Hannah had been feeling, given life to, and enjoying, and been dreaming about who he was going to be and what we were going to be able to do with him and things we were going to teach him, and all of that was just gone. And there wasn't any in between. There wasn't any sort of period of knowing something could be wrong. You need to prepare yourself, whatever. It was just, things are good, ready for him to be here, and then, sorry, there's no activity. He's not here. And they let us sit in that room for, I don't know. It it feels like a long time and just a few seconds at the same time. And our midwife was there for a second, and I guess she kind of explained what that meant. That sorry, we did it. They did everything they could. They checked, and he's gone. He's in heaven now. And I guess we had called my parents. My parents got there not long after that. We told them, and they were obviously devastated. My mom was devastated, was crying, and my dad was. I don't know that he really knew what to say any more than I did. He was just holding me and crying and praying over us. And they took us to a labor room, and just a normal labor and delivery room. And basically, I guess I'm not sure how quickly it was, but they pretty quickly asked, there's no chance that he's going to make it. Do you want to go forward with a C-section and just have this done? Or do you want to, give it some time and see if your body can deliver him naturally? And Hannah chose, I was in shock and wanted to support Hannah, be there for her. And so I just kind of told her, like, what do you want to do? And I think we talked about this later, I think her mindset was she loved him. She wanted to, we weren't going to have any time to spend with him here on earth. And so she wanted to honor him. She wanted to give him the dignity of her going through the experience of delivering him. And that's not that having a C-section, there's anything negative about that. But I think just in her mind, that's what we had planned to do the whole time, was for her to be at home and to labor without any medication and to experience it and be present in that situation. And we did use medication. They gave her some painkillers and eventually epidural. But I think that's where her heart was, that she wanted to experience everything she could with him while he was still in her womb. So we talked about that. We just told them, we want to deliver naturally, and they respected that. I think they did an exam. She was not very far along at all. Her body was not ready for him to be here. So they went pretty quickly into, like, okay, we need to prepare you. We need to move things forward. They tried several different things, pills, and there's a crazy technique they took later on that probably isn't appropriate to talk about on a podcast, but it worked to a certain extent. But basically, she labored. This was probably 8, 9, 10 o'clock on Saturday night, and they gave her something to start her body getting along the process of labor, and kind of just let us try to sleep. And we obviously didn't really sleep. We were both laying in the room, just exhausted and emotionally spent, and trying to come to grips with what it meant that we weren't going to have our son here. And everything that Hannah had felt and all the relationship that she had with him over the past 9 months was gone. And in my experience, I had more of a hope and a dream for what the future was going to be. And that was obviously not going to happen with Gabriel. And we were both coming to grips with that and just trying to figure out what that meant. And I think we were able to get a little bit of sleep. And so they started on Sunday pushing her hard with Pitocin, the artificial oxytocin, to get her body moving and to induce labor. So that was, if you know anything about that process, that's very hard on a woman's body to have more of the oxytocin in her body at one time than it would naturally, and to have it be constant. And so she was pretty much having labor pains all day Sunday, and they gave her some opiate medication that help with the pain, but the situation was that they could give it to her, I think, once every, I don't remember if it was 4 or 6 hours, but it really helped for the first hour and a half. And she was basically just knocked out, and then she'd wake up in the middle of a contraction, she'd feel pain, and then she'd go back to sleep. And um, I wanted her to be able to sleep then. I knew we were both exhausted. In my mind, I was thinking, if she's knocked out, she's not in this anguish that we're going through right now. But that medication after that first hour and a half really didn't do anything other than take the edge off, and so she was miserable for the other 2.5 hours or 3.5 hours, whatever it was, till she could have another dose. And that went on all day Sunday, and it was just miserable. She hated it looking back on it because she wasn't present in that situation like she wanted to be. She was basically just drugged up, and we couldn't talk. She couldn't focus on anything going on. She was just totally knocked out, and when she was asleep, I was trying to go in and out of the room, and our whole family was there. It seems like for the duration, her parents were already on their way, and they came in. They live in Texas, and they came in. They were there. My grandparents were there, my brothers. Everyone was there. We had pastors coming by, and I was trying to run interference in the time that I had, and let them know we appreciated them being there. And also, we didn't really want them in the room with Hannah. We wanted to give her space and time. And I think it was great to have everyone there. But that's kind of a hard situation, I guess, in my mind. I compartmentalized and wanted to be there, show them we were thankful for them being here, and I needed just a little bit of a break to go and talk to someone. But it could be overwhelming, I guess, for some people to have so many people show up at the hospital. But to move forward, Sunday night, she'd made a little bit of progress. I'm not sure at what point her body was, but it wasn't close. And so Monday morning, they continued the Pitocin. I think they upped the dosage, and they finally, mercifully, they got her on an epidural just before noon on Monday, and that was great. The technician that did it did a great job. It took pretty much all of her pain away, and there was still obviously some discomfort, but it gave her the chance to rest, and I don't think she really got any rest when she was knocked out from the opioids. So she was able to talk with me, and our midwife came in, and we were just able to be there with each other a little more and to kind of go through that experience together. And it also allowed her body to relax, and she, I guess around 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock that night, things were moving forward, and she was trying to adjust in bed. They want you to turn every hour or so when you have an epidural, and her water broke, and so we were excited and ready for not for Gabriel to be out and no longer with Hannah, but to see him for the first time, and to see who our son was and what he looked like and all of that, and really just for me, I was ready for Hannah's pain to be over, and the timing was pretty quick from there. I think they did an exam, and his head was like ready to come out, and Hannah pushed just a couple of times, and he was born at 9:09 p.m. on a Monday night. Was September 30th of 2019, and so we had him there with us. We had one of Hannah's friends who were planning to come and do some pictures. She was there. She was able to get some good shots of him and us together, and our midwife was there kind of helping Hannah. She kind of turned more into a doula and supported her there, and we're thankful for that. But we had a time with just Hannah and I don't know how long it was, holding him, and just so delighted and excited to see him and who he was, and just that how beautiful it was to have a son, and he's fully grown, and he's here with us. But there's also that that heartbreak of he's born, but he's born. I think someone said at the funeral service, he's born unto heaven and earth, and he was not with us. He was with Jesus before he ever came out into the world, and I think I pretty quickly. My mom tells me I just said that's not fair. I told my mom several times this is just not fair. It's not what we hoped for, not anything we'd ever imagined. It just didn't make sense. We're both healthy. Things were great. Like I said, the pregnancy was easy. And to go from everything being fine to finding out that our son is no longer alive and he's in heaven in a matter of an hour and a half was just devastating. We were thankfully, I don't know if it was hours or how long it was, we were able to spend some time with him there. My brothers got to see him and hold him. My grandparents got to hold him. Obviously, all of his grandparents, my parents and Hannah's parents, got to hold him and spend time with him and cry over him and thank the Lord for the opportunity for him to be born and to know him and for him to be a part of our family. And don't know, it was a great experience to have him and to hold him and to see my son, but it was also the hardest and the most heartbreaking thing I've ever done, to hold a little baby that's not live, and to have all of those hopes and dreams for him, imagining him growing up and being strong and going to school and getting a job and getting married and all these things, and knowing none of that was going to happen was hard. It's not anything I was able to process immediately. I'll say that it was just all of those things hitting you at once, and it was something that Hannah and I talked about over when we were able to talk over the few days we were in the hospital. That we don't really have any control over this, but we know God does. And I brought my Bible to the hospital, and I think I was too numb to really to read it and to process anything I was reading, but I opened it a few times and just tried to read. But I guess I was more praying, Lord, work a miracle, heal our son, bring him back to us, make the doctors wrong, something wrong with their equipment, whatever it is, and he's actually here. But even if he's not, we know you're in control, and ask that you would comfort us, and that you would take care of him, and you would give us an assurance that things are okay and that we can trust you. And that's probably not something I was too successful in praying right then, but that was kind of what I was saying. I don't know that I really meant it, but I was saying it. But really, that experience, I guess, made us grow up super fast, to go from probably, at least me, being naive about like, gonna have a kid, it's gonna be great, he's gonna grow up and be he's gonna be just like me, things are gonna be awesome, I'm gonna teach him sports and teach him how to build things and all this different stuff, and to lose all of those hopes and expectations that we had for him, that I had for him, is something that I'm still dealing with and still grieving over, a year and a half away from that. And I think I'll probably, talking to Gabe here about the experience with his daughters, I think that's something you always feel. You'll always grieve over the loss of your children, but with time and perspective, been able to trust the Lord with that, and to try to just give him the fears and the heartbreak that we experience, and just allow him to heal us and to use us to encourage other people. And Gabriel, at his service, Hannah and I asked that people didn't give us money, but that if they wanted to give something in his honor. Hannah had spent 6 summers in Haiti over the years, and just has a heart for Haiti and the Haitian people. And she has a contact with a Haitian orphanage hospital that takes care of children that are malnourished. And she set up a link or an account to give to that charity, that nonprofit, to help children who are malnourished in Haiti. And I think to date there's been like, I don't know, $2, $3, $4,000 that have been given to this charity. And that's, I know initially, right after when I had people give, they sent us something that said like 17 children were able to get the full treatment of calories and nutrition and all of this to get them from like malnourished near the point of death to being healthy and being able to go back to their families on the right track, and like their growth and development is good and all of this. And so, not to be overly dramatic, but I think it's true that because Gabriel isn't here and he didn't get a chance to live on this earth, and Hannah's heart and getting and having someone else benefit from his time here, 17 kids in Haiti at least now have received treatment and they're doing well and they're living because Gabriel didn't. And I think, as part of this podcast, that's the reason Gabe and I are here, is to use our children's memories and honor our children by trying to help other men who've been through this to draw closer to the Lord and to be encouraged by the sovereignty of God, the way that He comforts us, and the way that He pulled us through that situation. And I just think it's something that Hannah and I certainly felt the faithfulness of the Lord through this whole experience. We had 2 church bodies, or really 3 church bodies, loving on us and bringing us food and calling us and texting me and just telling us that they've been praying for us, and that the Lord is faithful. The Lord is the one who can hold our pain and our grief, and to cling to Him. I talked to Gabe and some other guys from our church not long after we lost our son, just a few weeks or months, and Gabe, encouraged us for me to cling to Hannah and to communicate with her and love her, and that they were praying for us, and his whole family's come around us. And it's something that, maybe he didn't want to hear in the moment, that things were going to be good and that the Lord's here and Gabriel is with Jesus and he's happy and healthy and he doesn't have to experience pain. But it's true, and it does bring comfort to know that our son mattered, our son still matters, and he's in heaven. And because of his time on earth, Hannah and I are changed. We went through the experiences we did, and because we trusted the Lord, we are able to go forward in a way that honors the Lord after losing Gabriel, and not be broken shells of ourselves. And I think within our human capacity, that's where we would be. I remember Hannah and I talking not long after Gabriel was born, and I just told her I went through some crazy wild times in college and trying everything I could try and just like looking for fun out there. But I told Hannah, if we don't decide to trust the Lord through this, and we choose to just white knuckle it and try to whatever, to me go to work and work hard and to just get through this and not deal with it, that I feel like with my personality I would probably fall back into those same habits and do the things that I did years ago to try to numb the pain or to not deal with the pain, and that it would ultimately end in Hannah and I not being on the same page and not getting along, and probably a divorce and 2 broken lives and families broken apart and things like that. And that wouldn't honor Gabriel's memory, and that's not what the Lord wants for any marriage. And I think that's not me, not because I'm great and not my wisdom, but it's what the Lord allowed us to believe, and it's something that I think he brought us to that realization because we were trying to trust him even in the midst of our grief. And thankfully our marriage now is stronger than it's ever been. I think going through that loss of Gabriel sort of galvanized us and helped us see that the Lord is faithful. The Lord did bring us through it, and that's something that we'll always have together, is that hurt and that grief, that heartbreak over losing our son, but also just the truth and the assurance that God is sovereign over it, God is faithful, and no matter what happens, we have the hope as Christians that 10 minutes from now, 5 years from now, 50 years from now, whenever we die and leave this earth, we'll go to heaven and we'll see our son again, and there'll be a reunion. And you can't take that away from me. You can't take it away from Hannah. No matter what happens, no matter how down we get, how heartbroken we are, we know we're going to see our son again because we have the assurance of faith and the belief in Jesus as our Savior. And I think I posted something on Facebook that the hope that's within us, the hope to go and see Jesus and to be reunited with our family members, is greater and stronger than any grief that holds us down. And that's something that you don't necessarily know every day. There's certainly days that you have that are bad, that are painful, that you feel like you can't get through. But just keep telling yourself that, and whatever experience you're going through right now, whether it's child loss related or it's marriage related or job related, whatever it is, if you're a Christian, just know that the hope that's within you is greater than whatever circumstance you're going through right now, and you'll make it through.
That's awesome, man. Thank you, Will, for being so transparent, and for sharing that story, which I know is not ever easy to recount. And I hope that people are hearing from you just what you just said, that there is hope out there, for, like you said, for Christians. Like, we know that we will be reunited with our loved ones one day. And if you're listening to this and you're not a believer, you don't know anything about having a relationship with Christ, you can. And you can have that same hope that we have, and certainly we would love to help you with that. If you want to reach out to us, certainly you can do that through those social media avenues that Will has set up and is doing such a great job maintaining. And read his stuff, man. He's got some wisdom that God's given him, where he's in what he's writing. And we're gonna pause here, and we're gonna pick up in episode 3, where I'm gonna be kind of diving into a little bit of Will's story just by asking some questions for follow-up. Okay, so we're gonna do that. So make sure that you tune in for episode 3. And before we go, is there a link to that hospital in Haiti that you know of offhand, or can you put that on the Facebook and whatnot?
I'll put it on the Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. I should have come prepared with that, but I did not.
That's
so
okay,
I'll get
man.
it out.
That's all right. That's called a teaser, right? We're
Yeah.
just getting people to go there and see it. So we'll do that again, that we can support those kids in Haiti. And so, thank you, Will. Thank y'all for joining us today on episode 2 of Lost Boys to Found Fathers. We hope that you found some encouragement, strength, and hope for men and for women who may be listening. Again, this is experience and our experience, what we've learned. So hopefully we can be an encouragement to others. So we'll sign off for today, and we'll pick back up on episode 3.